The Eden Monaro election results. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I've got my stein of coffee and I thought we'd have a look at the Eden Monaro election results. Now I've got an article here from news.com.au that we'll have a look at, but before we go through this, let's jump over to the AEC tally room and look at some of the figures. So here we have the two, well, what is it, at updated Sunday the 5th of June at 12:15 Australian Eastern Standard Time. 5th of July. Why is that updated? Oh, in the morning. Okay, it was updated in the morning. Now, we've got the two-party preferred. Christie is at 42,054, and Fiona is at 40,336. So that means Labor is in the lead this election at 51.04. So this got a slight swing of 0.19 to Labor at this election. So it looks like Labor's going to win the seats. Oh, well, yep, 100% of the ballot papers counted thus far. So if we scroll down, let's have a look at how some of the other players went. Now, Dean McRae from the Liberal Democrats, who we interviewed on the channel, he seemed like a nice bloke, he got 586 votes. So he got 0.71%. Poor guy isn't going to get any funding for the party. That's the problem. If you hit 3%, this is the thing with using your preferences. If you put your first preference to one of the minors, you give them a chance to get $3 per vote to help cover their costs for running in the election. And then you bookend it with one of the majors if they're your first preference. You know, who do you want the money to go to? The big parties that don't need it, or some of the little people that are trying to advocate for particular things you might be interested in? Shooters and Fishers, they got 5.42%, so they did pretty well, which isn't surprising considering the area. The Science Party got 1.6, 875. Let's do it as vote numbers. We'll do here. So Liberal got the most number of first preferences. They got the most number of first preferences. So there you go. So it looks like preferences are what won Labor this seat. Labor got the second at 36%. Then you had the Nationals at 6.6%. The Greens at 5.6, so they got 4,000 votes. So they're down. They're down 3.15%. Labor is down 2.99%. There you go. What does that say? What does that say? You know, what do we have? Shooters up 5.4%. The Hemp Party was up 2.37%. They got 1,949. I mean, that is just a one. I don't know very much about them. I haven't really looked into them, but they're a one-party ticket. Well, it's their bloody name, isn't it? An independent got 1,000 votes. That's pretty good for an independent. Science Party got, you know, they swinged of 1.06. Sustainable Australia Party, Stop Overdevelopment, Stop Corruption. I mean, that's the name of their party. I've done a video looking at the Sustainable Development Party. Went through their entire political manifesto. I should do that again for the next election, looking at all of these parties. My issue with them is they've got a very anti-natalist tangent to them. But they've got 756 votes. Yeah, good on them. Liberal Democrats, as we said, 586. Another independent, 545. Christian Democratic Party, 523. So they're down. Independent obviously has run again. They're down. They're down. Another independent has gone up. And the Australian Federation Party has gone up. Clive Palmer had 2.77% of the previous vote. He's gone. I can see that here. And other is down 2.26. So we can see here, what do we have here? This is first preference by vote type. So what do we do? Ordinary. Okay. I'll let you look at that in your own time. Is there anything else? Two-party preferred results, and then you've got the results for each of the different areas. You know, two candidate preferred by polling place, and you can go through this and see which candidates at which areas and which demographics. It's, you know, if you're one of these political nerds, it's fantastic. But I mean, the main takeaway here is let's look at this. The first preference swing away from Labor of 3%. 3%. What does that tell you? The Greens, 3.15%. Liberal went up, 0.77. This is a bushfire-ravaged region. You know? Shooters, fishers, and farmers, up 5.42%. They didn't run last time. That's a tremendous result for them. They're going to get funding for that. They won't get much, guys. The money that they get from AEC to cover their costs isn't much compared to how much that they have to run, how much they have to spend. And then how much the big boys, they get just as handouts for, you know, development. It's insane. It's a bit nuts. So let's have a look at this article. Let's see what Samantha's take is. The Eden Monaro by-election results. One terrible takeaway for Anthony Albanese. Do you think Albanese will continue to stand as the Labour opposition? What's his personality? Does anyone like him? Because that's really what it all comes down to, doesn't it? There's one big takeaway from the Eden Monaro by-election for Labour leader Anthony Albanese, and it's not great. Whether the ALP ends up winning or losing, Labour's primary vote is down, and it's down a lot. Labour needs to depend on preferences to win. They need to depend on the Greens. This is why you see them moving even further left. More and more. It's why they have all these crazy policies. It's why you've got Labour leaders, deputy leaders believing in fantasy things like the gender wage gap that's been proven to not exist, but it's part of their policy. Because they're just appealing to voters that don't understand what's actually happening. People just read the headline and believe it. What that tells you is that whatever Anthony Albanese has been doing in the year since Bill Shorten lost the unlosable election, it isn't shifting the dial much on Labour's biggest problem, its baseline vote. Well, of course not, because Labour has abandoned their baseline vote. They've abandoned the workers in this country. They've abandoned the coal miners. They've taken up this ideologically driven rhetoric. They want to implement gender-based discrimination in hiring policies. They've got all these other crazy, wacky things that they're putting forward. It does not feel like a party that the average Australian is even interested in. Mark Latham, a former Labour leader, is now in One Nation. Does that tell you how far the Overton window has shifted? I think the only reason these major two parties get a significant vote at all is because people don't realise how to preference vote properly, and they don't want to waste their vote. Even though you can't. Our political system, for all the problems that we have, our method of voting is one of the best in the world. This is the best invention that Australia has ever created, and if used properly, it can give you a lot of power. You can't waste your vote in Australia unless you do a donkey vote. I'll put a penis on there. I mean, well, there you go. You just wasted a privilege that we all have, that a lot of people don't have, that most people in humanity haven't had. This is the ultimate sign of being so entitled that you can, dismiss the privilege. This is the ultimate first world privilege. So, even in England, they don't even have preferential voting for the elections over there. Be interesting to see. They've got the first past the line rubbish. Be interesting to see the actual results for the EU election if they had preferential voting. Some of the more controversial figures might have gotten across the line. That would have been interesting. I advocate for, I would love to see a mismatch of all of these people in our House of Representatives, not just in the Senate. I would love to see, minor parties in the House of Reps, so they actually have to debate and discuss and reach compromise. That's what you want, not just now, like the cash ban. The cash ban really got to me when, Katter was up there and other people were up there giving heartfelt speeches, raising some issues about this, and not one of these people was sitting in the House to listen. They all were out, having a drink or whatever, and then they came back for the vote. Hadn't even heard a word that was said. That's why I'd advocate for a mixed house. Isn't diversity our strength? Maybe we need diversity in political opinion and ideas. That'd be good. But that's not what they want. That's not what these leftists want. They want things that, they want you to be in their nice little ideological bubble. And the diversity of other things beyond your control. It's so stupid. So utterly stupid, and people just eat this shit up. So when the Australian Electoral Commission halted the count on late Saturday night, Labor's primary vote had gone backwards by 2.8%. This is the seat where Prime Minister Scott Morrison was famously serenaded with unprintable words when he turned up in a Cobargo during the bushfire. Having been busted on... He wasn't busted on a family holiday in Hawaii. He'd already organised it. I mean, it's terribly... Well, optically it was terrible for a politician. It showed a lack of understanding of what was actually happening. Yeah. This should worry Labour MPs. What happens if Scott Morrison is tempted to go to an early election? The only real upside for Labour is it gives the party a chance to take a long, hard look at its direction. Mr Albanese can't walk away from the result. He spent weeks campaigning for Eden Monaro and was front and centre on Saturday night, delivering a lengthy preamble before the Labour candidate herself, Christy McBain, got to talk. Miss McBain, the former mayor of Bega and a strong candidate, appeared to be on the verge of tears as she declared the result was too close to call and vowed to keep fighting for the bushfire-ravaged community. She should stop blaming herself for a result that says more about the long-standing challenges the ALP faces than her candidacy. No doubt Labour will trot out the usual excuses. The circumstances leading to the by-election, with sitting MP Mike Kelly retiring and taking his brand recognition with him, was always likely to see Miss McBain fighting to reclaim ground. But she was a good and energetic candidate and was certainly more high profile than her Liberal rival, Fiona Cotsvoogis, who appeared to spend the majority of the election in witness protection. Less appeared to be more for her campaign, along with plenty of posters of the Prime Minister. But the result is also a reminder that Mr Morrison's rising personal popularity as he leads the country through the pandemic will not always translate into votes on the ground. The Liberal primary vote went up, but only by a fraction of around 1%. But the result is also a reminder that Scott Morrison's personal popularity, which has risen sharply as he's led the country through the pandemic, will not always translate to votes on the ground. I've read that twice, but still, it's important. The idea that a marginal seat is won or lost on the personal popularity of a Prime Minister alone, or that Mr Morrison's rising personal approval ratings meant an incumbent government could easily take the seat of the opposition in a by-election, was always resizable. So, here we have it, everyone. The results for Eden Monaro. What do you think? Do you think Labour has a lesson to learn? Let's have a look at their percent swing. So the Greens took the biggest hit. They took the biggest hit, down 3.15%. And to be frank, I'm quite happy with that. I think that's a very good result. Could it be because of, the bushfires? And some people might have concerns with the, restrictions on people's ability to manage their own land, perhaps. Then Labour, 2.99. There you go. Big hit. A very big hit. What do you think? What do you think this will say for Anthony Albanese's leadership? I mean, they still won the seat, but it's a big swing against him. We'll have to see. The next election will certainly be an interesting one. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Do you use preferential voting? Do you understand how it works? Or do you only vote for the top two and put the minors as a second preference? Thanks for watching. If you're a fan of the channel, you can support us in a number of ways. Simply interacting with the channel is a great way to help us grow. You can support us financially via joining the channel on YouTube or Patreon, using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve or Kucoin, buying our merch from HeiseSays, using Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or supporting us via PayPal. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you in the next episode.